Have you ever watched a movie or played a game or even just seen an ad and thought, wow, how did they come up with this? You know, every single piece of media we love starts out as just a tiny little idea, a spark. But turning that spark into the finished thing we all get to see, well, that's a whole other journey, and it's powered by a team of really creative and strategic minds.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? A brilliant concept is awesome, but it's just the beginning. Who are the actual people who take that idea and plan it, build it, and polish it into the final version that we all get to experience and enjoy?
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We're going to follow the life of a project, starting with the blueprint, which is pre-production. Then we'll get into the build phase, or production. After that, it's all about the polish in post-production. And finally, we'll take a look at how the size of the team can change pretty much everything.
All right, first up, pre-production. You got to think of this as the master planning stage. Before anyone even thinks about shooting a scene or writing a single line of code, the entire project has to be mapped out. This is where the vision is really born, and the foundation for everything else gets laid.
And right at the heart of that vision, you've got the creative director. Think of them as the guardian of the project's soul. Seriously, they're the ones responsible for the overall look, the feel, the entire creative identity of the whole thing.
So this is where those big, abstract ideas start to become real. The creative director isn't just daydreaming. They're developing the core vision, they're defining a brand's identity, and they're figuring out the strategy for the look and feel. And a huge part of their job is then pitching these ideas to get the rest of the team on board and, just as excited as they are.
But all that creativity needs a solid framework to actually work. And that's where the campaign manager steps in. These are the strategic planners. They make sure that this amazing creative vision is actually going to meet the business's goals and connect with an audience.
In other words, the campaign manager is the one who grounds the project in reality. They're working with the marketing team, they're setting that all-important budget, and they're digging into industry trends. All of this makes sure the project isn't just creative, but that it's also relevant and actually set up to succeed.
Okay, so the blueprint is approved, the budget is set, now it's time for the build. This is the production phase. It's where the vision finally starts to become something tangible, something you can see and touch, and the team gets to work creating. Leading the charge here, whether it's on a film set or in a design studio, is the director. So while the creative directors set the big, overarching vision, the director is the one on the ground, day-to-day, making it happen. They're involved in every single stage, making sure that story comes to life exactly as intended.
And yeah, this is a super hands-on role. The director is right there in the trenches, working face-to-face with the crew and actors and constantly keeping an eye on the team's progress to make sure the whole project stays on track and true to that original vision.
Now, if the director is the creative leader on set, then the production manager is the logistical leader. They are the organizational powerhouse that keeps all the complicated moving parts of a production working together perfectly in sync. The production manager is literally the glue holding the entire project together. They're coordinating all these different departments, making sure everyone hits their deadlines, and maybe most importantly, making sure the project doesn't go crazy over budget. Honestly, without them, it would just be chaos. They are absolutely essential. So we've built it, but it's not finished, not even close. Welcome to post-production. This is that final, critical stage where all the raw materials, all the footage, the audio, the graphics, are assembled and refined into a polished final product. And post-production is a really methodical process. It kicks off with editing all that raw content. Then it's about shaping the story by tweaking the tone and the structure. It also involves picking out the perfect images and titles. And then finally, after a super thorough review, it gets launched out into the world. And the master of this entire process is the editor. They are so much more than just technicians. They are the final storytellers. This is where the real magic happens. An editor can take the exact same footage and, just through their choices, make a scene feel thrilling, or heartbreaking, or hilarious. They find the narrative, the rhythm, the emotion. They basically decide how we, the audience, are going to experience the story. And hey, remember the campaign manager from way back in the beginning? Well, their job isn't done yet. After the launch, they come back into the picture to analyze the campaign's performance. Are people watching it? Are they buying the product? They make adjustments, closing the loop, to make sure those initial business goals were actually met. So we've seen all the key roles, but the way these teams are structured can change a lot.
The final piece of this puzzle is understanding how the sheer scale of a project completely dictates who does what.
This makes it super clear. On a small project, like a local radio bit, one person might be wearing all the hats. They're the writer, the director, and the editor. But on a huge project, you have these massive teams of highly specialized experts, and coordination becomes the name of the game.
And just to give you a sense of scale for what we mean by a large project, the average film involves around 300 people. 300! I mean, from the director to the sound editor, all the way to the person who provides the food. Every single person has a specific, vital role to play.
So, what this all really boils down to is this idea of interdependence. It doesn't matter if the team is huge or tiny. Success always depends on how well these roles work together. The creative director's vision needs the campaign manager's strategy, which needs the director's execution and the editor's storytelling. They all have to rely on each other.
And that brings us to one last thought. We've mapped out how these roles work today, but technology, and especially AI, is a huge disruptor. So I'll leave you with this question. Which of these senior roles, the visionary, the strategist, the storyteller, do you think is on the verge of the biggest transformation? It's definitely something to think about.